Good morning. Thank you for sharing this time with us. As a boy living on Kiefer Street with his brother and his widowed mother, Tony could never have imagined an event like this. His neighborhood near the downtown east side was the place for the immigrants of the 30s to live. Last year, just before Christmas, we visited his old elementary school, Seymour. He hadn't been there for 78 years. The teacher told the students that once this man was a little boy sitting in one of these desks. The joy of giving to another generation of children from all corners of the world was one of the highlights of our year. Kiefer and Maine was Tony's home until 1939. One day, on a trip by streetcar to Richmond, Tony and his brothers saw wide open spaces, kids playing in the fields, and they smelled new mown hay. And his mother said, "How would you boys like to live here?" He loved it then and loves it still. He went to school here, worked on the log booms, picked berries on the farms, worked at Northern Peat Mills, Aylmer's Cannery, Home Foods, Huntington Merritt Shingle Mills. There's some friends here today who share similar memories. And later, Tony chose to spend 35 years as a family physician in this community. Richmond was a place for him to raise a family, a place where he could flourish and succeed. In 1939, when Tony came to Richmond, there were 8,000 people. There was a strong Croatian community, Japanese families in Steveston, some Ukrainians, Anglo-Saxons, as well as several Chinese families. And members of one of these families are here today. Just as his father in 1910 came to the New World, hoping to improve his life, to build a family and a future here, so too did our neighbors. They modeled the pioneer spirit where people work together to survive and thrive, and in doing so, built a community. This was the Richmond of long ago, a good place to live, as some of the old-timers in the room know. They know what it was like to visit each other's homes, to share farm work and the produce they grew, to walk together, to play together. There were few cars then, but there was the interurban, a good way to know your neighbors and a way to solidify community. And there was one small office building. Some of these stories are written down, and we expect that the old-timers will share some of them this morning. But change is inevitable. We can't go back to rural Richmond and ride the interurban again. It's housed in a shed in Steveston. Nor can we imagine Richmond of 10, 20, or 30 years from now. But what is the same over the years is the fact that we are a community. The reason why we are here this morning, gathered together with the common purpose of creating something good for Richmond. But what does a sense of community mean? What makes one want or not want to be part of a community? How can we enhance or strengthen community? I understand that within this hospital there is a true sense of community. It's a busy place with a variety of individuals and jobs, but there is a feeling that collectively they are creating something bigger than what they can accomplish alone. They're serving the health needs of the citizens of Richmond, and at one time or another, we may need the help, skill, and compassion of the people who work here. We've painted a picture of Richmond of yesteryear and acknowledged that we cannot go back. Today, instead of being described as a rural farming community, we are one which is vibrant and culturally diverse. On the one hand, we can celebrate the rich dimensions of diversity, and on the other hand, there can be fear of change. some in this community may feel disquieted. This discontent, spoken of and written about recently, is a reminder that neighborhoods are not simply proximity and shared territory, but also the experience of community. Let's strive to get beyond discontent and disagreement by accepting the privilege of calling Richmond our home and valuing this hospital in our midst. So many give to our community, a little or a lot. They give in so many ways, through service, in leadership roles, with financial support. They give time, they organize, they share love and wisdom. They do random acts of kindness. Whatever we choose to give, there will be benefits for ourselves and for our community. And so the Richmond of Tony's youth has changed. So too has the hospital of 50 years ago. Let's acknowledge and accept the change and set a course for the future.
I only have a few words to say. Nancy and I are grateful that we can be the impetus for this initiative, helping the hospital be the best it can be now and in the future. Will you join us?